President-elect Trump on Monday indicated that he plans to push back on President Biden's move to reach an agreement that would allow tens of thousands of federal workers to remain in a hybrid work arrangement with telework through the year 2029.
One of the things I'd like to ask the Biden administration, as you probably heard, there are two events that took place. We're talking about a friendly takeover, a friendly transition, as they like to say. This is a friendly transition, and it is, but there are two events that took place that I think are very terrible. One is that if people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed. And somebody in the Biden administration gave a 5-year waiver of that so that for 5 years, people don't have to come back into the office. It involved 49,000 people. For 5 years, they don't have to go. They just signed this thing. It's ridiculous. So it was like a gift to a union, and we're going to obviously be in court to stop it.
Oh my goodness. So, what's interesting about this is that President Trump is the incoming president, and anything that they would do as an arrangement that would last past his term seems like not fair play, seems like not a good, what would we call that, transition. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson had this to say prior to Trump's insinuated policy change.
There was a report that came out today, I don't know if you all have seen it, but someone did a little survey of how many federal employees are actually working in the office. By one estimate, it may be about 1% if you don't count the security personnel that are covering these buildings. That is absurd, and it's not something the American people would stand for. And so one of the first things that I think you'll see is a demand from the new administration and from all of us in Congress that federal workers return to their desks and get back to the work that they're supposed to be doing. I think that is common sense. What you're going to see here, the overriding theme here, is a return to common sense and a return to accountability and efficiency in government. I think that's going to serve the people well.
Joining us now to discuss is President of the National Right to Work Committee, Mark Mix. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Stacy, good to be with you. Great, thanks for the opportunity to talk about this. Look, I mean, the Speaker of the House and the President-elect said it right. I mean, the idea that union officials negotiate a 5-year deal that keeps 49,000 Social Security Administration employees working remote for the next till 2029 is really quite ridiculous. But that's the idea of union power when it comes to government employees.
So, Mark, the insinuation here is that the incoming administration, with all the talk of DOGE, government cuts, kind of a return to normalcy, basically saying, look, the pandemic's been over for a few years now. We need to get back to regular business order. That the Biden administration is saying, yeah, we'll have a smooth transition as long as we're doing what we want, and you're not going to get to do what you want. You're transitioning in, but not really into power.
Yeah, Stacy, our relationship will be really good if you just do everything that I say. That's a pretty good deal if I can get it. And unfortunately, union officials in this country have that type of power when it comes to government employees. The American Federation of Government Employees represents about 750,000 federal employees. And when asked about the idea this past summer about coming back to work, one of the union officials said, well, it's not very practical and it's not very popular to actually show up to your job in Washington, D.C. And you're right. This is the Trump administration being hindered and being harassed by the outgoing administration, basically trying to set the terms and conditions of employment for 5 years, well, actually a year past Trump's term as president of the United States. Hopefully he will fight it. Unfortunately, Stacy, there's a legal process that's going to take place. Basically, the contract that these people sign, that the union officials negotiate with the Biden administration, saying that any changes about the conditions of employment must be negotiated through the bargaining process. So if Trump, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy talk about, everyone has to be back to their jobs or be dismissed or fired, that's going to go to the Federal Labor Relations Authority, which is a 3-member panel that adjudicates labor law for government workers. You might be interested to know that I think the chairman of that 3-member board is a former official of the American Federation of Government Employees. The union that will be on the other side of the table will be deciding how this is going to work. It's going to take time. It's going to take efforts. It's going to slow everything down. But hopefully the president, and Joe Biden said in the 2022 State of the Union address, he said, we're going to get these people back to work. Well, that's just not true. It hasn't happened. And frankly, the Biden administration is now putting their thumb on the scale to make sure it doesn't happen for the next 5 years at the Social Security Administration.